Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zaki, Sean, and Ryan are talking about movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.
Welcome to Movie Film. This is episode 56, brought to you by Mr. Boy Productions. My name is Zaki Hassan, and I'm joined once more by my partner in crime, my sidekick, if you will. Or am I the sidekick? I don't know. We haven't figured that out yet. But either way, Brian Hall is here.
Hey, either way, one of us will drive the getaway car. So,
and one of us will be kicked to the side.
Yep. So. Or shot. Whoever does the double crossing.
Yes. although you may have said too much.
Yeah.
So
big things up ahead for a movie film. Yeah. No.
We got some good stuff coming, but I have to acknowledge a moment of sadness for me, Brian.
Why? What's that?
Dallas has been canceled.
I saw that. I thought of you.
And your reaction was far too jovial right now. I just want to point that out.
Wait, so how many? It got to 3 seasons, right?
It got to 3 seasons and 40 episodes.
That's not nothing.
Yeah, but it's a Far Cry 14 season and hundreds of episodes as the previous version did.
Sure.
As
nice
you know,
little run.
It is a nice little run, but you know what? As you know, and as certainly as listeners of the show know, I have an unnatural fondness for Dallas, which really is completely disproportionate to the level of sort of socio-cultural impact that show has.
Yes.
At present, and I gotta admit, I'm a little bit bummed. This show is therapy for me, Brian.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like the two truths and one lie game. That would be a good one for you. Like my favorite show is Dallas. Like everyone would be like, well, clearly you're an astronaut. You know, like no one would believe the Dallas lie.
I'm still making my way through the original series, even somebody stealing the entire series from me was not enough to dissuade me. That's the level of dedication I have. So
hey man, we all got our things.
We indeed. Well, and as we speak about TV shows that are ending, now of course last time we talked about Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
The much anticipated Batman spinoff that's doing pretty well in the ratings, and the question that I've gotten via Facebook is, what are you guys going to say, having now seen at least one more, possibly 2 more episodes? So Mr. Hall, I turn it to you. What do we think? What do we think of Gotham after having gone beyond the pilot?
You know that Boyz II Men song, "End of the Road"? I think after episode 2, I poured my 40 on the curb, said, really appreciated the ride so far, but I think this is where I get off.
So you are done with Dallas. I mean, excuse me, Gotham. We've been forced to be done with Dallas, but you're done with you by choice. You're done with Gotham.
Yeah, and it's not out of hatred or anything, but it's just okay. This show is not. I don't think this is for me. The pilot, I think we were both sort of cautiously willing to go forward because I thought it showed a lot of promise. I thought it looked like making a show about the cops of Gotham with, Batman not being a main character. It has potential. Mm-hmm. And then episode 2, wait, let's go back actually. The pilot, we were saying that the tone was an issue because it was half gritty, New York 70s cop movie, half 60s Batman.
Yeah, it was. You know what it was? It was like French Connection meets Bill Dozier Batman.
Yeah, that's literally what it was. And so it was like, I thought it wasn't terrible in the pilot, but then when you got to the second episode, it was like, okay, so this is going to be down and dirty, whatnot. But then all of a sudden, what's her name? Jada Pinkett Smith was, dialed up to 11 in her sort of Eartha Kitt sort of like, well, welcome to my club, kind of thing going on. And like, I was like, I don't know about her. And then, and then you got Penguin like brutally murdering random people. So you got like sort of the gritty violent thing. But then again, then you have these villains who are these henchmen for the doll maker, and they're played by these really, like, they're playing it campy. Like they're kidnapping children, and they're like, get into the car, kids, and like they're dressed like from the 1950s,
and these are not bad actors, by the way, because there was
not at all.
Taylor, Frank Whaley.
Yeah. So I realized this was a tone I didn't think was gelling, and it wasn't something I was interested in. But like you said, I guess it's doing well in the ratings, so it's people are gonna keep going. We'll see. Maybe it'll find its voice.
Well, this is the thing, because I feel like we went through we had a similar conversation to this last year with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
And that show has certainly righted itself. I know you walked away and you haven't looked back.
Yeah, and not for any good reason. I just never made time for it. Let's say, like, it didn't grab me right away, and I didn't make time for it. But
that show has improved. Like I walked away and then I wandered back, and I've been pretty consistently impressed where that's been going now. So
yeah, and I guess they've really found their way to weave themselves into the fabric of the movies as well, right? I mean, that's kind of
it's smart, because I mean, when you think about it, the problem that show has is that on the one hand, it has to be viewed as an integral part of the this big universe that they have, right? On the other hand, it can't be viewed as so integral that
you have to.
Yeah, if it's people who only watch the flicks need to still be able to just watch the flicks.
Right.
And it's actually, I mean, like, if you were just watching the movies, then the show is not a going concern at all. So it's kind of brilliant in that sense, where, like, if you do watch the movies and you're like, oh, like, the show connects, but it's not absolutely, intrinsic to appreciating them.
Right.
It's clever, is what I'm saying. So,
that's cool.
So kudos. Well, I mean, so Gotham, not really your thing. Any other new fall shows that have kind of jumped out at you?
Well, real quick, we didn't hear what you thought.
Well, just tack on a ditto to everything you said, because you know what it is. Like, after the second one, I was like, whew, all right, I was like, all right, and then like, I watch on Hulu, so the third one went up 2 days ago or whatever, and it's kind of just sitting there on Hulu, and I'm like, all right, here we go. Okay, I can do this, and I'm like going through that, and it's been 2 days, and I'm just, if I'm being realistic, like I it's like a coin toss whether I will actually end up seeing episode 3.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the time, Brian. That's what I'm realizing. This is the thing, actually, right? Because later this episode, you will be telling me all about Gone Girl without telling me anything about Gone Girl.
Yep.
And the reason for that, very simply, is because I just do not have the time to squeeze that movie in at present. And I'm realizing that this is the realization I've had, is that I have many responsibilities, and I now find it increasingly difficult to make multiplex time.
Well, that's just it, and that's what I honestly appreciate about shows like this. If I'm being honest, like, my time is limited, and I need to choose the things that are worth my time, and so I enjoy listening to programs like this, and hearing other people's opinions, and that's what informs what I decide to spend my time on. So hopefully we can be that for people as well.
Hopefully. It's funny, because it was my intention. I was like, I'm going to catch it, and we'll talk about it, and then I'm realizing that that 2.5 hours, it's 2.5 hours, right?
Yeah, it's long.
That's like a chunk of my day. And
right.
And you know what it is? Here's what I'm realizing. My life, it has become like a game of Tetris, where, like, like when you start playing Tetris, it's like you're able to plot it out very methodically, and you're like, oh, and I'll leave a gap, and I've got 4 now, and it's amazing.
Uh-huh.
And then as you keep going, things start getting a little bit faster, and then you get like a gap here and a gap there. Gaps start piling, but you're like, it's still good. I'm still good. I'm okay. I got this. And then eventually things pile up to the very top, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna die now.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm at that phase. Like, that's where I am in my life right now.
Yeah.
I'm like the Tetris board that's been filled up.
Well, happy that you're here.
Yes, I know.
And it ain't nothing that you did, though. I mean, we've got, not to spoil it, but we got a good interview coming up here in just a moment, and that's something that you made the time for this week for the listening audience. And you're doing your part.
I'm trying, man. I am trying.
Yeah.
Before we move off of television entirely, not real blown away by Gotham. I will say I just saw the pilot episode of The Flash.
Yeah. How's that?
And I'm digging that.
I've heard. I saw all over Facebook. People were strongly enjoying it.
Yes. So don't watch Gotham. Watch The Flash. It's a good show.
All right.
The end.
The end.
The end of that part of the conversation. That is.
Yeah.
Now, have you had a chance to catch anything else?
Yeah, in recent weeks it's been difficult, but lately I have been able to catch a few more things. And I wanted to actually start off with something a little off the beaten path here of movies, and it's an audiobook that I've really been enjoying. And it's called The Martian. Okay. And it's by Andy Weir. And I had heard this was a book that a guy self-published, and then it is going to be made into a movie by Ridley Scott. So immediately I'm like, what is this book?
Right.
And so I look it up, and the plot is there's a mission to Mars, and an astronaut gets left behind because of circumstances, and he has to figure out how to survive on Mars by himself. So it's basically the movie Castaway on Mars.
Okay.
But what makes it so interesting is that it really takes itself the logic seriously. So whoever wrote this book, Andy Weir, he has an amazing amount of knowledge about space travel and what things would be involved and what sorts of materials he would have, and it comes down to the details of how fabric is weaved together on certain rovers and things up there for the ideas that he comes up with for how to sustain, and a lot of like math and figuring out condensation and how to grow crops and how it could really actually possibly happen on Mars. And so I appreciate how logical it actually is. Like, it's not like, and then he found this device that's called a Hubahab, you know what I mean, or something. Like, it's all like, and you're just, it's riveting in just like how logical it is, and the protagonist is hilarious. So it's got like a lot of math, and it's got a lot of sort of really hard science sort of stuff in it, but the protagonist is really funny. So I'm tearing through it. Like, it's maybe like 10 hours or something like that, and the book can't be that long if it's a 10-hour audiobook, but I highly recommend it. And it's going to be a movie by Ridley Scott coming soon with I guess Matt Damon is going to play the guy.
Nice.
But I'm enjoying the crap out of it, so I think people would enjoy it if they're looking for something for their commute to listen to after us. But this is also kind of a random one, but I saw a movie called Sorcerer. Have you heard of this movie?
Sure. William Friedkin. And what's
interesting about this movie is this is the movie that came out, I guess, the week before or the week of Star Wars in 1977. And
it was like a month later.
Oh, was it a month?
Yeah, it was like end of June.
Yeah, okay. So it sort of was the beginning of the end of what people associate with 70s films, where it's sort of gritty and no frills and kind of a hard-edged sort of thriller. And then Star Wars brought in sort of the idealistic, heroic, special effect blockbuster.
It's what Star Wars isn't.
Exactly. And it's I listened to this other podcast, and they just were like, this is a blind buy. William Friedkin, for years it's existed in this terrible DVD format, and they have just completely cleaned it up and put it out on Blu-ray. So I was like, all right, I'll go buy it.
By the way, pause. I just want to say something about the fact that we now refer to DVD as terrible.
Well, not that DVD is terrible, but the transfer.
Yeah.
In particular, I guess on Amazon, if you look up the DVD for this, William Friedkin actually is in the comments on Amazon saying that it's terrible and don't buy it.
Really?
Yeah. And I guess someone called him out, like, is this really William Friedkin? And he's like, yes, seriously, don't buy this version. So anyway, but the Blu-ray is phenomenal. Like, it looks, a lot of the movie looks like it was shot yesterday. And
wow.
But the plot of this movie, it's very misleading. The title is a bit unfortunate. It's not about wizards or anything. it's about these four people who come from, terrible circumstances, end up in this, South American town, like where they drill oil, and there's an oil fire, and they're desperate for money to get out of this circumstance, and the oil company is willing to pay a ton of money for these people to drive unstable dynamite through rocky terrain to put out this oil fire. So that's it. These four guys who really shouldn't get along with each other, but they're in this dire circumstance, go through this adventure together. And man, I'm telling you, like, I'm not going to pretend like it's a perfect movie. It's not like this, like, wow, this perfect movie's been waiting all these years, but it is a damn good movie. And the tension and the thrills and the set pieces that they have in there would hold up to today's standards without computers. Like, they didn't have the aid of, any of this stuff, and they have this truck driving across. It's kind of like the set piece of the movie, and it's on the poster and everything, where this huge old truck is driving over this crazy rickety bridge, and you're like, how in the world did they do this? I mean, were the actors literally in danger here?
Right.
But it's like nail biter sort of stuff, and there's other set pieces in there that I actually found very like Spielbergian, where it was just this thing leads to that thing, like very clear what's going on, but the tension is like through the roof sorts of things. And I don't even really want to spoil it, but if people can get their hands on it, or if people can stream it somewhere, Sorcerer is like a really, I'm not going to go as far as to say that's a blind buy necessarily, but like, I think people are looking for something of that nature, like a good kind of thriller that from a bygone era. Like, I don't think they'll be disappointed.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of interesting how William Friedkin's career has gone since, because I don't think he's ever been able to replicate the success that he and the freedom certainly that he had in the 70s.
Yeah.
Because he certainly had a run between The French Connection and The Exorcist, where he earned a lot of rope, and then obviously Sorcerer did not do well, and that kind of put him on a bad path. And then when you look at the kind of his filmography since then, he directed Blue Chips.
I after watching Sorcerer, I researched him, and I would have never ever guessed that. Yeah, with Shaq, with Shaquille O'Neal and Nick Nolte or something, right?
Nolte, come on, Shaq, I gotta win some basketball. That's my imitation of Nolte in that movie, and in life, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
He just says that to random people. And he also directed Jade. Remember Jade with?
I do remember Jade. That was William Friedkin.
That was William Friedkin, yeah.
I had no idea. That's the one with Caruso, right?
With David Caruso. That was his, like, the career killer that he did.
Yeah.
It was written by Joe Esterhaas.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And
Basic Instinct.
Infamy.
Fame. Yeah, I was going to say Infamy.
Showgirls.
Or Showgirls and Infamy, I guess.
Yeah.
But I saw one other film. Oh, good. I'm sorry.
Well, while you talk about Jade, like, whatever happened to Linda Fiorentino?
Yeah, she had those kind of like, I always joke. There was a time where I was like actually pitching some things around town out here, and I met with some people, and people would always ask what I was doing, what else I had in the pipeline, and my joke was always, I'm writing an erotic thriller, like, and one girl actually didn't know what that was, and I had to explain what an erotic thriller was, and it's just funny that that was kind of a '90s thing.
That was a thing, yeah. It was like Showtime After Dark type movies.
Yeah, but like Basic Instinct made it, like you had like A-list actors, you had A-list filmmakers making this thing, and then a lot of people tried to do it,
right?
And it just didn't stick.
Didn't like Sliver and
Color of Night. You remember that?
Color of Night. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Color of Night. They did an episode of How Did This Get Made about.
Yeah, I heard that one.
And I remember seeing Color of Night because it was like this big deal,
Yeah, it's like the movie you're not supposed to watch, and then your friends get free HBO for a preview weekend, and you have a sleepover, and you watch Color of Night.
Yeah, and I distinctly remember being underwhelmed even back then.
Yeah, I don't remember anything about it, but yeah, I just remember the name, really. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, you were saying you saw something else?
No, yeah, well, I was just going to say the last thing that I got to check out that I really, really enjoyed was finally I got to see Richard Linklater's Boyhood.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to say I had pretty high expectations for this, and I'm happy to say that they lived up. The movie lived up to them, honestly. I mean, you have to know what you're getting into. I mean, this is the film where 12 years ago, or 13 years now, I suppose, Richard Linklater cast a boy who was like 7 years old and then filmed for a week every year, like 10-minute, 15-minute segments with this boy. And the thing is it's not necessarily a story. Like there isn't a distinct through line about like, will he get into this college for this scholarship? There's nothing like that. It's just chronicles the everyday sorts of things that this boy goes through. And I feel like there's a way for that to work and there's a way for that to fail miserably. And this one, it definitely worked because even though his experience in the film, it has to do with a divorced family and the sorts of ups and downs that entails. And, my parents aren't divorced, so I don't have that experience. But, like, I was still able to latch on to so many moments in this boy's life, just feelings that you haven't felt since you were 12, because that's only a 12-year-old could feel those feelings. And this movie captures those sort of off the beaten path moments of life. And I thought it's fascinating to grow up with this boy, but almost equally as fascinating, what I really enjoyed was it also chronicles his parents, which are played by Ethan Hawke and Patricia Arquette. And it's really fascinating to see Ethan Hawke. He's a younger parent who's not ready to be a parent in the beginning of the movie, and by the end of the movie, he's aged, by 12 years. But he's also literally aged by 12 years, So, you see the wrinkles on his face now. Wow. And there's just nothing like it. And it's a really fascinating experiment that fortunately worked. So that's another thing I wanted to point out that I thought was kind of interesting about it is if you were to make a movie now in 2014 and you wanted to tell a story from 2002 through 2014, you'd be like, remember when computers looked like this? And it would sort of be like you're trying to point that out. But this movie, it couldn't predict the way things were going to go. So it just honestly captured the way things were. And so there's a moment where the boy's playing a Game Boy, and then a few years later he's playing a Wii, and then a few years later he's talking about Facebook. And it's just funny because when that movie started, they couldn't have predicted Facebook. So you can't, all those moments of capturing life and the way that things were are very honest and sincere and just, I don't know, there's just something to that too, like getting to sort of relive a decade through this film. So
it's really interesting.
Yeah, I gotta say it's 3 hours, so it is an investment. But if all that stuff sounds interesting to you, I think
so. Unfortunately, I don't have enough room on my Tetris board to squeeze the movie. Is what that means.
Yeah.
I'm a lot of times it's like, I'll have to wait till Netflix or DVD, and I'm realizing that I can't even do that anymore.
I know. I mean, it really is. It's like a pick and choose thing. So.
Well, it's funny because my wife and we've been trying to watch Captain America: The Winter Soldier for the past, because it came out like a month ago on home video. Right. So this is sort of like the central irony of my life, right? Is that I've got like a very nice TV, I've got a Blu-ray player, I've got a high def setup because I'm like I want to have the best possible way of watching this. And it's like we started out watching it on the Blu-ray and we got distracted and this and that, and then so we ended up like the next half hour or 20 minutes of it we're like watching on my laptop, and then we kind of migrated over to an iPad. And the last I checked, we were basically watching on my cell phone in our closet.
Right.
And we haven't finished the movie. That's the ironic thing about it.
Okay. We weren't planning on talking about this, but so Edge of Tomorrow came out this week. Yes. And I was like, you know what? I'm so looking forward to watching this again. I'm just going to go buy it. But this is the very first time I ever thought, well, am I going to buy the Blu-ray? Or am I going to just buy it on iTunes?
Oh, interesting.
You know what I mean? Like,
so where'd you come down on that?
Well, I ended up buying it, the Blu-ray, because I thought I might enjoy some of the special features on that stuff, which again is one of those things where it's like I used to watch all those things and now I can hardly find the time. But yeah, because it came out 2 weeks. That's kind of the thing, is now they put the movie out almost like a month earlier streaming. But that's just kind of it. Like, do you really need the Blu-ray?
Well, you don't, and you know what's funny is that I'm reaching that point now, and you and I are roughly the same age, so I think we're reaching some of these realizations at the same time, where it's like, do I really need to own this thing? Like, do I need to own a physical copy of it?
Right.
Like, how, because I'm realizing that there are many, like, complete series sets or whatever that I own because I get a lot of free stuff for review or whatever. And I'm realizing that because I just turned 35 and I'm at a point now where I'm doing the math and I'm like, I don't think I can get through this stuff in my lifetime.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a weird thing to realize that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's kind of funny.
It's sobering to be like,
Yeah.
I will probably die before I finish it. Like that. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's weird to realize that. So, we're old, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, speaking of getting old, there's a new film that's actually coming out at the end of this week as we're recording, and it's called The Judge, starring Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall. So two of the great actors of their respective generations squaring off. And this is a film that it's produced by Robert Downey, and it's written and directed by David Dobkin, who you might know as the director of Wedding Crashers, and he also did Fred Claus, and before that he did Shanghai Nights, which is a great underrated movie that I like.
Yeah.
And this is a change of pace for David Dobkin. It's a drama. It's a character piece. It's a family drama, and very much a performance piece. So I had a chance to speak with David Dobkin about making the film and how he came up with the idea. So I thought we could go ahead and play my interview with him, and then we can talk about the movie on the flip side. You're on the set. You're directing Robert Downey and Robert Duvall. How do you fight the urge to just sit back and just let them do their thing? What do you see your role as in that situation?
Well, I'm the director, and honestly, it's like telling a football team to go on the field and just play the game and never get any advice from the sidelines as to what you're seeing. Actors and directors have a symbiotic relationship because actors, if they're smart, will want to be directed. They'll want to know how they're coming off. They need to be blind to how they're coming off so that they can perform and stretch and take risks and chances and play the edge. But they need to check in and know, what's going on. And my job is to, I spend 3 weeks rehearsing before every movie. I break down the scenes, I break down the characters, I break down the backstories. We go through this entire process. We do improvisations until there's a trust and there's, a deep understanding of the material. And then when we get on set, it's my job to pay attention to what's going on. And everything on a movie is not, most things are not shot in chronology. Mm-hmm. And it's my job to come in and remind everyone exactly where we are in the movie, to orchestrate how big or how small the tone is going to be at that point in the movie. Some scenes, are you going to yell at each other in this one, or is it going to be underneath your breath? Where are those modulations going to come from? So, great actors, if great actors didn't need directors, every one of their performances would always be great, and they're not always great. There are ones that are stronger than others. These guys happen to be brilliant, and when I was on set, they needed very little direction overall. But you need to be there. You need to be, I care about nothing more than in my movies than the performances. It's really the thing that I like the most. It's what I pride myself on. And I know that my role is to listen and watch. Once we've done our rehearsals and we've set our goals and we know where the target is to watch and see if they're hitting the target. Also watch to see if they're doing something brilliant that's even better than what we made our target to be. But also to see if we're off target, and to make sure that we have some variations so that when I get to the editing room, we have what we need to tell a great story, because you're still telling a story.
Right. And now this film for you is obviously, you've talked about how it's a change of pace for you in terms of you've built a reputation as doing comedies, and you've said you didn't ever see yourself as being the comedy guy necessarily.
Yeah. It was unexpected. I went to film school and I studied, and the movies at that time in my life that I loved and adored, part of the movies the reason I went to film school were, Apocalypse Now and Dog Day Afternoon, Coming Home, French Connection. They were, Deer Hunter. Those were the movies that I really loved and responded to. And when I was in film school, those were the movies I was interested in being a part of. Came to Hollywood, First, I came and lived in San Francisco for 6 months, avoiding Hollywood. Eventually, had to go to Hollywood. And when I got there, you know, it was the moment of Pulp Fiction. So there were some really cool things happening, but I didn't know how to get in. I loved what was happening with music videos at that time. It was kind of the heyday. And I ended up getting into that world. And then Ridley Scott took me under his wing. And I missed working with actors. So I said, you know, I'd like to do some commercials. And the first commercial that he got me, a spec commercial, was comedy. It was what we could get. And I directed it dramatically. But I knew where the laughter would be. And what ended up happening was it won some awards, it got some recognition, and because I had succeeded at that, that's where I got the work.
Sure.
And I continued for the next 20 years to be a comedy director. All the time always wanting to come back and do a little more of this. And by the way, there's a lot of comedy in this movie. There's a lot of humor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's very entertaining. It's a really fun movie, but it's got drama and it's got pathos and it's got, you know, a deep emotional movement to it. But you know, so it's been a long time coming. And by the way, when I was a kid, I loved Lenny Bruce. I loved Richard Pryor. So irreverent comedy, especially Eddie Murphy, really spoke to me. And through the course of comedy, I did find my way back to that.
Right.
Certainly with the R-rated work.
So after Wedding Crashers, which was, you know, just sort of blew up, the change up obviously didn't achieve that level. So that you've referred to that as kind of it allowed almost for a course correction for you in terms of, I don't know if course correction is the word, but you know.
No, well, the truth is that this was in development before I even made Fred Claus. I met Downey in 2006.
Oh,
he came to interview for Fred Claus, and we really hit it off, and we had a really good connection. But I knew the role he came in for was not. I was like, I want to work with this guy. I knew the minute he walked out of the room, I was like, this guy's amazing. But I wanted him. You know, I looked at him and I saw a heavyweight champion, and I was like, I'm not going to put him in the ring until he's got a prize fight.
And this was 06, so he was hungry at that moment.
He was hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah, many years later, he said to me, when we started this movie, he said, Dobkin, why didn't you hire me for that thing? I said, because that wasn't the right thing for you. This is the right thing for you. You know, this is... so my love for him as a performer and this kind of movie was, you know, kind of in there. And honestly, we made this movie when the script was great. The minute we got the great script in our hands, we went off and we made it and we committed. So, it was really, I'd say between every comedy I did, I launched a ground campaign to get back into something more dramatic. And the powers that be, and just, you know, by sheer coincidence, it just never happened till here.
And I know you've mentioned a little bit that the origins of this story started percolating after the death of your own mother. Is that correct?
A week after.
How did you find, like, what's the through line from that event to the larger structure of this story?
Well, my mother and I had a very caustic relationship that I feared her a lot of the time. And what happened was when she fell ill, I was suddenly in a position where I was going to have to be closer to her. Mm-hmm. Physically close sometimes, emotionally more open and available and closer. And that proximity scared the shit out of me. And all of a sudden I realized I was going to have to parent my parent, which was another piece of the puzzle that had not occurred to me. And of all parents, it was the one that I had the real volatile relationship with. Mm. And after going through that experience, and my sister went through it too, she went through a lot of really hard stuff, probably a lot more than I did, but she didn't have as crazy a relationship with her as I did. And after going through that, the week after, this story of this family where the mother dies and the vacuum the collateral damage that's been left in the wake of just their history as a family, and these men that are all of a sudden pulled into the vacuum where she was the buffer the whole time. Now all of a sudden they collide with each other. Dramatically came into my mind, and it became this story. And slowly I sketched out a treatment for it, and then I went and found a writer to continue working on it with.
And at what point did you bring Robert Downey on board?
Once I got that first draft, about a little over a year into developing it, I brought it to Susan and Robert, and they joined on. And then we worked for 2.5 years just between writers on our own, working on it, talking about it whenever we had a chance between movies, whether I was busy or they were busy, and we would keep pushing it ahead. And then we brought on Bill Dubuque, and he handed us this magnificent draft. It was really, we gave him an outline and the old script and kind of talked about what we wanted it to be, and he digested all that, and then he came forward with this movie, and it was really brilliant.
Yeah, the cinematography was really impressive to me, and then I saw at the end that Janusz Kaminski did it, and he actually went to Columbia College, which is where I went to film school.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
So he's like, he's like, oh, Janusz Kaminski.
Yeah.
So it was. I felt like
he's amazing.
It's a few degrees of connection.
Yeah,
by virtue of that. But in terms of the performances and stuff, and just the emotional element, I think what drew me in is that I'm right now, I have 4 boys of my own, and
awesome.
my they keep us busy.
Yeah.
And my parents just moved in with me and my wife, right? So they're living with us. So I felt like I could relate to both Robert Downey and Robert Duvall in a weird way.
Yeah.
And I think that's
awesome.
That was like that. The scene in the shower, which is just, it's draining. It's just not literally, but emotionally draining, because I imagine myself as either of those characters, God forbid, where I rely on my kid, where I have to make myself vulnerable to my kid.
That's what the movie's about.
That's what I was thinking.
That's the whole movie.
In terms of that was the scene I was thinking of when I asked you about just like, how do you just fight that urge not to just let these 2 great actors just make magic,
It doesn't just happen you don't just put actors in a room and it's magic. You need a script, you need story points landing at the right time, you need all those things to happen, and then they need to still fulfill an incredible performance moment. But it's not just that happened. There were takes and cuts and discussions, and we shot very quickly in preparation to capture it in a very documentary type of way. There was an intention for that scene to be shot out by lunch. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to come back from lunch and have to continue. And it was, but there was a lot of preparation, psychological preparation, conversations, and as much as, again, I really love for my actors to feel like I've built a beautiful sandbox to really express and take risks in, because that's where great work happens. You need to orchestrate it. It's actors don't just show up and because Robert's funny or Duvall's intense or vice versa. It doesn't just happen like that. And I think that. And by the way, it doesn't happen that way with each other either. They work off each other, they feed off each other. The history of the story is in that movie. Duvall says under his breath, Mary, he says, very lightly, he's calling for his wife. He's been left alone in this moment, and the only person in that room with him is this kid that he doesn't know how to get on with. Yeah. But, look, there's no question that scene would not be that scene without these magnificent, amazing actors. But you have to have everything working the right way. The writer gets credit, the cinematographer gets credit, the director, the actors, everybody that goes and, gets behind that. The studio gets credit for not telling me to cut time out of that scene and letting me let it happen in real time the way that it did. So it's all kinds of stuff. It's just, I always see it as like a beautiful mosaic, and you're really lucky when it all comes together and you walk back and all those little specks, that Seurat painting, you know, when you step away from it, it all kind of takes focus and becomes one beautiful thing.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so there's that.
Yeah. Well, no, I did not have an opportunity to see this movie, but I am intrigued by it. Like, it looks like a movie that they don't make very often anymore. Just kind of a not it. You know what I mean? It doesn't fit into the 4-quadrant thing. It just looks like an adult drama, and that appeals to me. So, what do you have to say about the film?
I think, you know, I would say I appreciated it more than I loved it necessarily.
I can see that. Sure.
I think it's not. I mean, it's nothing earth-shattering. The comparison I made is Doc Hollywood. If you've
Really?
seen that movie,
Yeah.
or even Cars. I mean, in terms of subject matter and sort of trajectory of the story.
Interesting.
So there's that notion of like the down-home boy who's becomes seduced by the big city, but he realizes his roots belong, you know, in
I see.
a small town or whatever. So there's a little bit of that. I mean, you know, it's nothing that's going to shatter your expectations. I think it's pretty much par for the course. So I think the joy of something like this comes from just appreciating seeing these great actors. And it's not just Downey and Duvall. It's also Vincent D'Onofrio, Vera Farmiga, friend of the show, Vera Farmiga, by the way. It's a lot of great performances. It's extremely long. I mean, it's 2.5 hours, and there's probably 20 minutes that you could have trimmed out easily. And I think the overall flow of the narrative wouldn't have been hurt.
Right.
But you know, and by the way, like Robert Downey is like, it's very hard to divorce him from Tony Stark.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
and I think, you know, we get a lot of layers to his performance here. It's a very good performance, but it's interesting that he's at that stage of his career, whereas because when he first started out, he was very chameleonic, you know.
Sure.
And
Playing Chaplin and
yeah, you know what I mean? And now he's become Harrison Ford almost, where it's like we pay our money to see him be him, you know?
yeah.
Liam Neeson, right? Remember we talked last time about Liam Neeson, and somebody put a video out where they were like, stop playing the same guy.
Yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like that. You know what's funny, by the way, just only tangentially related to this, but I was watching an episode of Jimmy Fallon a few weeks ago, and they had Chris Pratt on, and my oldest, who's 7, is like, oh, is that Star-Lord?
Really?
Yeah, and I was thinking that's cool, because for him, like, he's at that age now where my son is at now where Chris Pratt is for him what like Harrison Ford was for us.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, when Harrison Ford makes Witness and all
Yeah.
these other things, it's like, yeah, but Han Solo, right?
Yeah, you know, and,
Yeah.
or like when you like that the first time you realize that Han Solo and Indiana Jones were the same guy.
Right.
So like here it's, you know, Star-Lord and a guy in Jurassic World, whatever his name is, you know,
Right.
it's going to be the same type of thing, and I thought that's kind of cool. And it's actually funny, because speaking of my oldest, we were watching a behind-the-scenes documentary about Batman the Animated Series, and they had an interview with Mark Hamill, and he's like, "Is that Luke Skywalker?" And I was like,
Really?
Yeah, I was like, "He's the Joker." He's like, "Luke Skywalker does the voice of the Joker," you know, and it's like making those connections.
Yeah. Oh, funny.
I know, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
That Mark Hamill is still recognizably Luke Skywalker, even though he's an old man.
Yeah. He's still
But
playing Luke Skywalker as an old man.
still playing Luke Skywalker, and we will talk, by the way, about that. We will get into that a little bit.
Mhm.
But we're talking about Robert Downey now. He's been making the rounds. He's been hitting up social media. I think he did a Reddit AMA, if I'm not mistaken. You follow that stuff.
Uh-huh.
And the question that keeps getting asked is whether there is going to be another Iron Man.
Yeah. And he's made several statements this past week about
I'm getting whiplash.
Yeah.
So is there going to be another Iron Man? That's my question to you.
Well, it's funny because they act like, well, there's no plans, or we'll see, blah 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 blah. But there's plans. The whole next, we just talked about this last episode. The next 25 years are planned. Like they know if there's going to be another Iron Man 4 or not. I think there will be another Iron Man. Well, duh, of course there is. But I mean, whether or not Downey's going to be a part of it, it's. Marvel's put out their movies in phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and the thing is I don't think they're ready to not have Iron Man be a part of that.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Or to not have Robert Downey be a part of that.
Right. I mean, they're going to have to, you can't have the same actors playing all the characters except for one, especially your centerpiece character for this whole universe. So what the plans are, maybe they don't know exactly when, or actually no, that's not true. I'm realizing this right now. No, they know exactly when it's going to happen. Yeah. they have it all mapped out. So he just doesn't want to spill the beans. But I think the headline that caught everybody's eye this week was a interview with Deadline, and Robert Downey Jr. Well, he kind of had the words put in his mouth, but about having Mel Gibson possibly direct Iron Man 4. And it makes it a great headline, but he never really said that. I mean, it was. He didn't
say that exactly. It's amazing how like the internet just caroms around the world.
Yeah.
And essentially makes it because if you read the original interview, it was with Mike Fleming at Deadline. It was very kind of like, oh yeah, like, oh, would you want Mel Gibson? Oh yeah, that'd be interesting, like something to that effect, right?
Yeah, because they're pals.
And it right because they were in Air America, I think, together, right?
Yeah.
But by the time that story hit the web, it became Downey refuses to do Iron Man 4 unless Mel Gibson directs.
Right.
Vows to be as anti-Semitic as needed. I mean, it's
vows.
Yeah. So I mean, it's weird because again, you see this stuff, and actually very similar to that is a story. Last week we were talking about how William Shatner might possibly be in the next Star Trek. Yeah. And so William Shatner tweets this. This is like 2 days ago. He tweets, "I'm back," like that. And it was "I'm back" with like 3 exclamation points. And so on like Hollywood Reporter or Variety, like one of the legit sites, it's like it's not even like with a question mark. It's like William Shatner signs on to reprise Captain Kirk in the next Star Trek movie. That's the headline. And it uses this tweet as proof. And it even says 3 exclamation points for because it's Star Trek. And I'm like, what are you, like Batman from the 60s show? This is how you
Right.
C for Catwoman. And so it turns out that William Shatner had been overseas. So when he says "I'm back," he's like, "I'm back," as in I'm back in L.A.
And I'm gonna film another Priceline commercial. Yes. What did you think I was talking about? Yeah.
So this is where internet journalism has gotten us. That way lies madness.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, when you have to get as many clicks as possible on your site all day long. Like, how are you going to get people who are on your site at 11 a.m. to come back at 4 p.m.? You got to keep generating content, and you're just going to take stuff that's nothing.
Create garbage.
Yeah.
Essentially, just garbage.
Dude, I'll admit this. I'll admit this on the air, as embarrassing as this is. It was like 4:40 this afternoon, and I had nothing going on for like 1 minute. And so Yahoo, I pulled up Yahoo, and I read all the stories, and I saw, again, that's the key point here. I read all the stories I was interested in. And then I saw, see Ariana Grande without her ponytail, and I just clicked on it, and as soon as I clicked on it, I was like, what did I just do? Like, I don't care, you know what I mean? But like, all the other links were purple. I had already clicked on them. There was something else there, and it's like, that is not a story, but like,
no,
they needed something.
Mine wasn't Ariana Grande doesn't have her ponytail. You won't believe what happens next.
Exactly. So that's where you get this sort of made up news, and it's funny because we're not even outraged by it, and then they like retract it, like, oh, we were totally wrong, falsely reported on this thing, and you're like, oh, right, that happens. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
you are what's wrong with the world, Brian.
I apologize.
Yeah, I want you to know that.
For the record,
yes,
it's fine. Without the ponytail, it's fine.
I'll be even more honest. I had no idea who Ariana Grande was until like a week and a half ago, because she was on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
So I'm at that point of my life now where I don't even know who these people are, nor do I have the energy to look them up.
Yeah. And there'll be someone that follows her.
Yeah, exactly. It's part of the cycle.
Yeah.
Now, we're talking about how the Marvel movie universe is expanding or not expanding, or what their plans are. Now, a big piece of the Marvel comic book universe is Spider-Man, and of course, we've spent the last few months talking about how Sony is in dire straits a little bit as they're trying to figure out what to do with their Spider-Man rights.
Right.
Now, the story broke earlier this week that there's the possibility of some kind of synchronicity between Sony and Marvel as far as getting Spider-Man involved in the Marvel cinematic universe.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard this?
I heard this, but I don't know where that comes from. Like,
So-
was this just sort of like a rumor mill kind of thing, or?
Well, so it started with a piece that Drew McWeeny wrote at HitFix.
Okay.
And he essentially said that it's like very, very early goings. There's sort of the beginnings of conversations happening between the two studios, and obviously it's very, very delicate because obviously once money gets involved, that's when the conversations start really happening, right? But I think the mere fact that these conversations are happening is interesting, and it shows sort of the position of strength that Marvel is at, where.
Mm-hmm.
Sony, I mean, when you think about it, Sony has, let's say, one of the top 3 superheroes in the world.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I would say Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, right? That's like a fair statement, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that they're kind of in dire straits with it and they don't know what to do, that's interesting. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, and it makes me wonder also, like, I'm having these thoughts form right now. I mean, Sony could be thinking, all right, well, let's take this character that we can't seem to make cool, even though I'm sure they wouldn't think it that way, but, like, let's put it in the coolest movies there are right now.
Yeah.
You know, and then, like, that'll recharge his batteries a little bit, and then we still get to make our Sony Spider-Man movies, but now everyone gets a little bit reinvigorated with Spider-Man thanks to whatever magic Marvel has right now.
Yeah.
So
Well, here's my prediction. This will not happen.
it just seems like there's way too many messy sort of elements to that.
I mean, you work in the industry. You know how things get once money gets involved.
Yeah.
And there's so many fingers in the pie here. I don't believe we will ever see crossover with Sony with Sony's Spider-Man into anything that Marvel's doing.
No, and I think because they're so, I mean, the whole logical business end of things, of course, but also, if Marvel's going to put that character in their movies, then they have a vision, they have a plan, a very specific thing. And then are they going to feel comfortable just letting Sony then make their mediocre Spider-Man movies with a character that obviously Marvel is now has some sort of care over, Right. And what benefit is it to them if the Sony ones succeed, but at the same time they need that character to be cool because, I don't know, it's kind of weird.
Well, I mean, speaking of that, like, there seems to be some degree of like détente or at least conversation between Sony and Marvel, but there seems to be like all-out Cold War between Marvel and Fox.
Yeah. If you can, again, this is something I saw really briefly today, so if you can tell me this story.
So this is interesting, right? Because essentially what's going on is that Fox has the rights to Fantastic Four and the entire X-Men stable of characters, right?
Right.
So what that means is that Fox has those rights in perpetuity as long as they're putting out product, which is why this whole misbegotten Fantastic Four reboot, which sounds god-awful, is happening, right? It's because they want to hang on to those rights. They've already given up Daredevil. That was a Fox property that they had to hand back. So essentially, the Marvel people who are now at a point where they're like, they're not reliant on these studios film to line their nest egg there.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening is that Ike Perlmutter, who's the president of Marvel, right, not Marvel Films, but the company as a whole, he has basically said that we, the comic people, are not going to promote any of these properties that Fox has, which points to me how the films are now the true source of bread, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So what Marvel is doing is that next year they're actually canceling Fantastic Four, the comic.
I saw that. So that's related to this?
It is because
So
they don't.
wait. This how old is that comic? They're going to stop that comic.
Well, okay, so yeah, they've been publishing Fantastic Four since 1962,
Yeah.
but it's it hasn't been a big seller for a while, right?
Is that like a big deal though? I mean, that's like like you say, one of the.
I think, in all honesty, it would have been a bigger deal maybe in the 80s or 90s, but it feels like because every other day Marvel like cancels a title and restarts it with a new number one. So we've gone through this enough times, and I don't read any of the current titles, but that's kind of where it's at, right? So I think the Marvel people are like, we don't want any product on the stands that's going to promote this movie that's not ours, and that's why there's not going to be any action figures or anything, because anything that's related to the movie they would have to split with Fox 50-50.
Okay.
Right, and so it's like, why give them money and why give promotion to their films? That now the X-Men titles is a little bit different because the X-Men titles are a huge chunk of Marvel's publishing program, right?
Right.
So you can't just cancel X-Men.
Right.
But this is interesting. If you notice, there was no merchandising for Days of Future Past. Nothing.
I'm not having kids. I guess I didn't notice, but that is crazy.
Yeah, and there was no merchandising for the Wolverine last year. There was no merchandising for X-Men First Class the year before.
Right.
The last time there have been like X-Men movie toys was 2009 for X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Huh.
Right? So 5 years ago. And the other thing, this is kind of interesting, is that Marvel Marvel has a policy now on the comic side where, first of all, like in the offices, there's no Fantastic Four artwork up, no posters up, and in terms of like the X-Men line, the writers are actually being told you cannot create any new X-Men.
The comic writers.
Yeah.
Why?
Because any new X-Men characters immediately get included in the deal with Fox. Isn't that interesting? So you can create a new mutant character as long as he's like in the Avengers. So it's all.
Isn't that funny? Like business. You think about like when you grow up, you just read these things. But it's not. I don't know. Like business versus art. You know what I mean? Like this is just squabbling adults. You know what I mean?
You know what's funny though? I can't speak for the X-Men because I don't think those movies will start flopping, right? But for Fantastic Four, it actually kind of makes a little bit of sense. Because all Marvel needs to do is just sit back and not do anything and let the movie. Yeah, and then
the ground.
I mean, realistically, it's kind of interesting that we have seen no pictures, no nothing from Fantastic Four. Zip.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to come out in less than a year.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it on here before. Like, I just, by virtue of even just those characters in that story, like, I just don't. There's nothing compelling to me about that, and I can't see that. I can see it being sort of like a side movie, that you make for a little bit less money, and it makes a little bit less money, but hopefully it's good. But like, it's not a tentpole movie. It's just not. Those, you know what I mean?
It's not sounding good so far. That's for sure.
So.
Now, but they're gonna keep bringing it back. They're gonna keep trying. Yeah, right? Because it's a name we know.
Why did they get rid of Daredevil? Well, I mean, of all the things. Jeez Louise! Like, you should have dropped Fantastic Four and kept Daredevil.
Well, it's a game of chicken, right? Because what happened there is, this is kind of interesting, is that at the time, I don't know if you remember, Joe Carnahan was attached at one time. And, and Fox was trying to get an extension on their Daredevil rights. So the Marvel people were like, we'll give you your extension on Daredevil, just let us use the Silver Surfer and Galactus.
Mm-hmm.
And the Fox people were like, why do you want them?
Yeah.
Maybe we don't want Daredevil, so they let Daredevil go.
Wow. So they got Silver Surfer and Galactus still.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's like you're playing tic-tac-toe and you're losing, so you just like try to make the other guy lose too.
Yeah. That'd be funny if Marvel had no plans for those characters. They're just like
It's like Brer Rabbit. Don't throw me in the briar patch. You know?
Exactly.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of properties being brought back, I thought this was news that was kind of interesting. Was NBC's plan that they announced and then immediately unannounced how they were gonna turn Say Anything into a TV series?
Yeah.
Did you hear about this?
Oh yeah, this story cracked me up.
So you got to tell the people about this. This is hilarious.
So Say Anything. I mean, if there are people who don't know what that movie is, it was a Cameron Crowe movie from late '80s. It's
In
iconic.
your eyes.
Exactly. I mean, John Cusack with the boombox over his head and the trench coat. I mean, Bob's Burgers has an episode coming up called Spray Anything. So I mean, it's like this thing still, is like a cultural thing. So anyway, NBC was going to make a show based on Say Anything, which of course everybody thought was a terrible idea, and whatever. But then all of a sudden, Cameron Crowe tweeted about it, and it's basically like, I actually have his tweet here. It says, regarding the announcement of a Say Anything TV show, John Cusack, Ione Skye, and I have no involvement except in trying to stop it. and then the very next day, NBC's not making Say Anything anymore.
That's all it took was one tweet.
Yeah. So.
Well, and I mean, would you have watched a Say Anything TV series? That just sounds like a terrible idea.
No, it sounds like a terrible idea. And honestly, I've seen the movie once. Like, this isn't something sacred for my childhood or anything, but like, if it was, there's no way I would watch that show.
Right.
So, and that was another thing on some article I saw today. Oh, wait, what were you gonna say?
No, go ahead.
They were saying, learning from past mistakes. Do you remember the Ferris Bueller TV show?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Of course I do.
Yeah, so that was really funny. They brought that up.
You know who starred on that? Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah. Yeah, played Jeannie, his sister.
That's right. And
that show made like okay.
Well, you know what that show did was, here's where that show screwed up. It played as if the movie was like the fiction. Exactly. And I remember being like, why would you do that? Yeah.
Yeah, well, because they had it in an article today, and so I watched. They had like the first 2 minutes of the pilot, so I watched that. Oh, and it starts off with him being like, "Yeah, you may know me because they made a movie about me," and then he pulls a standee of Matthew Broderick out of his closet, and he's like, "Matthew Broderick, are you kidding me?" And then he pulls out a chainsaw and cuts it in half. And it's like, okay, so the character I love, and the only reason I'm watching you right now, you're saying, you're better than him, and you cut him in half with a chainsaw. It's like, okay.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. But anyway, this comes in the wake also of like now there's going to be an Uncle Buck TV show that they're
was
developing.
Already. I don't know if you remember that there was an Uncle Buck TV show.
Yeah, that's like one of those things I feel like I remember even though I don't.
The Uncle Buck TV show was like 90, 91. And it starred Kevin Meaney. Do you remember Kevin Meaney?
Mm-mm.
He's no John Candy. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And actually, it's funny because Uncle Buck was on CBS, and Ferris Bueller was on CBS. And they were both, actually, Uncle Buck and Ferris Bueller both started at the same time.
Oh, weird.
Because Uncle Buck was August of 90, and Ferris Bueller was September of 90.
How funny.
So
and John Hughes is just like, whatever. Just get a check. I mean, he didn't write them, but I mean, just the character rights that I'm sure he owns. But like, and then what was the other one? Oh, Weird Science. They're making a Weird Science show.
They did a Weird Science show.
Shut up. Seriously?
They did in the 90s.
No. I take it back. Not Weird Science. Real Genius. Sorry.
They're all the same.
Yeah. But either way, it's just like who all of a sudden opened up the 80s movie vault and decided like to put it all over TV. Yeah.
That's Real Genius with Val Kilmer?
Yep. Yeah.
Ironically, Val Kilmer will be in the TV show. Because times have been tough on Val Kilmer.
Yeah. What the tragic thing is like there's probably a ton of 80s movies that would make great TV shows. They're just picking all the wrong ones.
What's an 80s TV show that or an 80s movie that you think would make a good TV show?
I knew you'd say that. I almost didn't bring that up for that reason.
Way to fail instantly.
Let's throw it out to the listeners. Right? On the Facebook page. Give us, because I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I'm certain there has to be something great from the 80s that would make a cool TV show that demands to be revisited every week.
In some way.
Yeah.
Mannequin. Weekend at Bernie's, the series.
Yeah, that would get messed up real fast. Week 4, like, no, I'm serious. We have to do something about this.
He smells, and I think I have Ebola now. Like, you could really make it modern.
Oh, you can make it like timely, like a very special episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
See, this stuff writes itself.
Yeah.
Now, while we're talking about sort of cliches from the 80s, I thought this was interesting. Somebody posted on /film this list of trends, movie trends that we're all kind of starting to hate.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm like, I don't know, what are the trends I kind of hate? And then there's 9 of them, and I was like, yeah, these are like, yeah, sure. I mean, it was sort of like, everyone was just like, oh man, how many times are you going to make a remake? Remakes, and then it was sort of reboots. Oh, reboot, like kind of becomes the buzzword.
And then
reimagining. And so number 1 on this list of current trends that they hate is Marvel-style shared universe.
Oh my god, dude. I'm so ridiculously tired of that.
That just became a thing real quick. And I have to read this tweet because she puts it so well. Angie Hahn, who writes over at /film, she just tweeted, "Congrats, in quotes, Marvel-style universe, on joining gritty reboot and origin story on list of phrases that automatically make me lose interest."
Right.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, I read a thing earlier this week about how I think it's Sony, they bought a pitch for a Robin Hood movie that's part of a Marvel-style universe. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and I'm like, are you talking about giving like Little John his own movie and Friar Tuck his own? Like, what shared universe are we talking about here?
Yeah.
And then Universal, right? They're bringing back the classic monsters as part of the shared Marvel-style universe.
Shared Marvel-style universe.
And the thing with that is that was a shared universe before Marvel.
Right. But you just want to say Marvel in the same sentence of the movies you're about to make.
Well, it's interesting about that, right? Because we have Dracula Untold coming out this week, which already nobody is going to watch. I can tell you that right now. It's going to flop. Sorry. But they apparently filmed like a post-credit sequence to tie it into this shared Marvel-style monster universe.
That's a Universal film. That's
Universal, but it wasn't intended as part of this whole.
But then they rejiggered it, and they're like, okay, let's attach this.
Yeah, like a post-credit scene where Sam Jackson shows up and has him join the Legion of Monsters or whatever it is, right? But to like set it up as part of this.
So they've got their Dracula, supposedly.
Exactly.
Which really, he should be their Iron Man of the thing, so...
I mean, the whole idea is idiotic because remember 10 years ago, Van Helsing?
Well, I never saw it, but...
Oh, you never saw Van Helsing? Oh, you missed out. You missed out on just something wonderful.
Yeah.
That's a terrible movie. It's terrible. They were talking about doing the shared universe with Jack Ryan. That obviously hasn't worked out.
Yeah, I mean, well, in Spider-Man, instead of just trying to make Spider-Man good, they tried to map this complicated universe, Marvel-style Spider-Man universe, and that's not working out so hot.
Losers. Like, I have some stake in this. I liked number 5 on this list, though. Let's go to China for no story reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's just so true.
Yeah, because I don't know if people know this, but if you're going to make an American movie, China is one of the biggest movie markets in the world right now, but they only allow so many films from America in. So you want your movie to feature China. Or a big star from China. Wasn't that
the country China, not the wrestler China? Yeah, unless you have China in China, in which case that would work. I'm assuming that would satisfy the letter of the law there.
But wasn't that with Iron Man 3? They actually had a famous Chinese actor in a scene that wasn't even in the American version. They filmed it just for China, and so You know what I mean?
That's
Like they're really, doing whatever they can to appeal to that nation to have their film be one of the films that's not
I
in.
hear there's a lot of people there.
Oh yeah,
So-
yeah. There's like so many,
There's-
and their food is outstanding.
you know what they call Chinese food in China?
What?
Food.
Food.
It's very late. I apologize.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, it's a kind of a funny trend.
Yeah, I mean, well, and number 8 on the list is hackers and nerds,
Right.
which I very much agree. I'm tired of the Hollywood stereotype of hackers and nerds. But number 9, this is something I think we can all agree: World at Stake.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I love this, right? It says some of the best blockbusters of all time have had relatively small stakes. My favorite movie of all time, Back to the Future, features a climax that involves a will they kiss or not plot,
Right.
right? Jaws involves a bunch of guys on a boat, and the original Jurassic Park is about dinosaurs terrorizing a few humans on an island,
Right.
right?
Right.
That's exactly. I love this. One guy tweeted. He says the first Bourne movie ends with him only beating 4 dudes. I want to see more finales like that. It's so true.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I think Man of Steel to me is like the nadir of that.
Yeah. Like, let's take a step back here and yeah.
I mean, I've said that, man. If that's where Man of Steel ended, what are they going to do for Batman versus Superman? I actually, you know what? Now that I say it, I hope Batman versus Superman, the ending is just like Batman and Superman going to town, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, are they going to destroy another city doing it?
No, that's what I'm saying. Just like gritty, grounded.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That would be awesome.
Like that would be. I'd be interested in that more than kind of what I'm hearing now. You know?
Yeah. Well, and going back to that movie Sorcerer that I watched, I mean, what's at stake is like just these 4 dudes not dying in a truck filled with dynamite. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't affect a village. I mean, it kind of does in a way, but I mean, what you're following for the movie, it's just like you're invested in these people and you care enough that it just will he make it across the bridge? And that's as exciting as what I'm sure they hoped the end of Man of Steel would be.
Yeah, even though it was just noisy nonsense.
Yeah. So.
Which was the original title, by the way, of Man of Steel.
Noisy Nonsense.
Noisy Nonsense.
That was the name of my band in high school.
The band you didn't let me join, as I recall. Very sad. Now let's move on to some Star Wars news.
Pew, pew.
Oh, actually, you know what? Before we talk about Star Wars, I want to get your take on this. So Netflix, did you hear about this? Netflix, their wheelings and dealings here?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're changing. You know, I mean, this is kind of a crucial moment for movies, honestly.
Well, so you know, they've had a lot of success with original content for television, like television content, but now they want to expand into film. And so the first thing that they're making, as far as their own like Netflix original film, is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon 2.
True.
Which, you know, it's not obviously Ang Lee is not going to be involved in that, and he said he's pretty angry about that.
Oh my gosh!
I'm just gonna power through this. But it is going to be directed by oh my gosh, I don't even want to like say the wrong name, but it's the guy who did the choreography for the Matrix movies.
Oh, okay.
Yuan Wu Ping, I think is his name.
Okay, yeah. So this isn't just some guy. Yeah.
No, and apparently Chow Yun-fat is going to be in it, and Michelle Yeoh is going to be in it.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That
Yeah.
makes me suddenly more interested.
Well, but here's, I mean, that
Tiger was great. Remember that? That was like one of those weird movies that like somehow every now and then a foreign film just crosses over and becomes a mainstream hit. And that was one of those.
See, I mean, I liked Crouching Tiger. I can't say it's a movie that's really stayed with me.
No, I mean I wouldn't say that, but I liked it.
I do think it's interesting how, like, after that movie, suddenly Ang Lee was getting offered all these big blockbuster Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
You know, because if you remember, he was offered Terminator 3, and he turned that down, and then he did The Hulk, which was not a good movie at all. But
yeah.
Although you got to hang out with the Eric Bana.
Uh huh. Yeah.
Did you ever mention The Hulk?
No.
He already mentions the Hulk, right?
Heck of a guy, though. Heck of a guy.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So they're doing Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon 2, and that's kind of like, oh, okay, so this is Netflix. They're trying to make high class films that appeal to an artsy crowd. And then the day after, they announced that they have a 4-picture deal with Adam Sandler.
That's just good business. Let's be honest.
Is it though? Is it?
It
really?
is. Because even though, I mean, we have our opinions on him, he's just a proven product. Like, he's going to make, you can quantify what his movies are going to do. You know, there's almost like hard math with him. So if you're going to make your movie that appeals to this type of person, you know, and then you're going to make the mass appeal sort of movies also. I mean, that's kind of, they have their bases covered here. But what's interesting about it is these are day and date movies, right? Like, these are going to stream the day that they are released theatrically. And that's why I say this is like sort of potentially a pivot point for the life of movies theatrically, or how they're released. I mean, this will either work and change everything, or it won't, and they'll try to figure out something else how to change everything.
I mean, it's hard for me to divorce from the fact that I think Adam Sandler makes mostly garbage.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that it's out there, and you know, it could be interesting. Could be interesting, you know.
Yeah, and I haven't seen an Adam Sandler movie in I don't know how long, couple years, several years. But there is like a weird curiosity factor. Like, even Blended, like if Blended came out in the theater today, and I know it's on my television right now, just out of curiosity, like I'd probably check it out.
Yeah,
so, you know what I mean. So you kind of have that thing going.
A little bit of the train wreck factor,
I guess, or just because there's sort of a novelty to it.
Yeah,
is what I mean. But again, I mean, will people leave their homes if they don't have to go watch that movie? I mean, box office, that's going to be something to watch.
Well, I mean, I think the answer to that is people will do whatever they can without having to do as little as possible, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, I've had this happen where, given the choice between the movie that I own that's like in the other room and seeing it on Netflix, I watch it on Netflix.
Right.
So Netflix has ruined me to some extent.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, speaking of train wrecks, have you been following the Stephen Collins story?
Oh, man.
Holy moly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a...
it's I don't want to go too far down that, but like, yeah, I mean, for 11 years, he was like the father on Seventh Heaven, and it turns out he's like the biggest pervert of all time.
Yeah, I mean... It's just a story, I guess it's still sort of unfolding, but yeah, I guess in some sort of therapy session or counseling session, he admitted to, molestation thing,
I listened to the audio, and my skin crawled off my body and went into the other room.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then I guess this happened a little while back, and then there's like some sort of investigation, so they released it, and somehow it got out to TMZ, because who knows, man.
That's how news works.
Yeah, but then he was going to be in Ted 2, immediately dropped. I mean,
he got fired from Ted 2. He got fired from Scandal. Yeah. He's resigned from SAG. They've canceled like reruns of Seventh Heaven.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Well, it's true, because you can't watch that show now. No. You know what I mean?
Yeah, wow.
I was actually thinking about that. Like, I was like, he's probably ruined like the residuals for that entire cast.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I didn't want to sound insensitive, because there are obviously bigger things at play.
Well, there is, but
at the same time, but that's true. I mean, that's people's livelihoods,
right.
And that is done. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, you can't show reruns of that for a long time, if at all.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy.
Probably never again. I mean, yes. No, I was gonna say probably never again. Because I was going to say with OJ, that was one of those things, too, where I remember they wouldn't show Naked Gun movies for a while. But the thing is I mean, he was acquitted, so.
Right.
And now they do, but sparingly.
He's on tape admitting it, so.
What?
I mean, well, Stephen Collins is on tape admitting.
Oh, right, exactly.
And the other thing, I mean, not to minimize at all what O.J. Simpson did, but, like, there's, like, a whole other degree of creepiness with what Stephen Collins did.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Like not to. I mean, again, they're all horrible. Basically,
They're all awful. Yeah,
you
but
live in a
there's
den of sin, Brian. Is what I'm trying to.
yeah. Ugh.
You really need to leave. Is the point I'm making. Speaking of sin, though, Star Wars Rebels premiered.
I was like, oh, how the hell? As soon as you went speaking of, I was like, what in the world are you?
Hey, come on, that's a good segue there.
No, that was good. That was good.
I'm impressed with that. So we talked about how Star Wars Rebels, the premiere was coming up. I got to take my kids to like the big theatrical premiere that they had for Seeds of Rebellion. I think was or Spark of Rebellion. Sorry, it was the 2-part pilot episode, and this is big. This is kind of a big deal because it's the very first Disney produced Star Wars product.
Right.
So
right.
It's almost like the guidepost. It's pointing the direction towards what we can expect from Disney's take on the franchise.
Yeah. So
what do you think, Brian? How are you feeling?
I dug it. I thought it was cool. I mean, I didn't flip for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, like I really enjoyed it, and it's a tricky thing because it is on Disney Channel, and it is aimed, I think, at kids, even though it wants to appeal to adults too. So I mean, there are juvenile aspects to the show, but that said, I was impressed with how much they did still. They didn't like dumb it down, let's say, and they didn't like add weird sort of like brought like slapstick humor and running into things.
I kept hearing your voice in my head going, "Meet Zebel."
Yeah, the kid is Aladdin, basically. Like he's just a street kid, and whatever. And there's something about that boy,
right.
kind of a thing. But when I really mean it, like once you get past that, which again is sort of inevitable in some ways, you do have to like realize where it is and who it's for. Really,
the voice in Jedi guy is?
Huh?
You know who the voice of the main Jedi character is?
Is it like Freddie Prinze Jr. or
Freddie
something?
Prinze, yeah.
Yeah, which I didn't even realize. I thought he's fine. I don't know.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, I'm not like anti-Freddie Prinze. I don't care, but I just thought that.
But what I appreciated about it though was it did feel Star Warsy. You know what I mean? Like I did feel like the universe. You had the music and you had the sound design, and it takes place leading up to A New Hope, which is when everything starts to change. But this is the beginning of the rebellion, and that's an interesting period where the Empire is starting to take over cities and people are resistant and whatnot. And I appreciated. Actually, it was like kind of surprisingly violent. A lot of people get shot, and they don't shy away from that stuff. And even like a guy, like a stormtrooper dangling from a bridge gets kicked off in spite by someone, which was actually kind of funny, but I even thought was kind of dark.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'll watch another one where Gotham. It was like, well, let's see. This one, I'm like, oh, I'd kind of like to see another one of these.
Yeah. Did you also notice how the one character, I forget his name, but they used the design, like the original design of Chewbacca.
Yeah, there's a creature as a part of the gang, and the design Macquarie, right? Yeah, the original design of Chewbacca, which is kind of funny.
It feels like how like the Native Americans never let a single part of the animal go to waste. They would.
Yeah.
This is like, well, what do we?
What a hilarious comparison. But that's sure.
It's like, well, what else can we use? Buffalo keep us warm in winter, so that's what this is.
But it's just
I've met all your letters to me. Brian had nothing to do with like the stream of just unfiltered racism that's coming from me.
I'm actually part Native American, so you can just bounce off of me.
Well, then this conversation just got incredibly awkward. So.
No. But it's just cool to see TIE fighters again. It's cool to hear
those sounds. The sounds.
I gotta say, those sounds. I don't even think people realize. I don't even think I realize how much those sounds are a character, an integral character to Star Wars.
Very much so. Yeah.
So.
Well, and okay, so now we're talking about Star Wars. We got to talk about Episode 7 because there was like there was a whole motherload of a spoiler apparently that hit the web last week.
I'm gonna hold you right there. I don't know if it's true or not. I didn't read it.
Okay, so and we're not going to talk about it here. We're not going to specifically read. I will say this: I did read it,
Yeah.
and not because I sought it out, but I realized something about episode 7, and this is just me, and I'd love to get your take. I realized I don't really care either way. In the sense that if I come across spoilers, fine, like whatever. Like I don't have that level of investment in it. In the sense that here's the way I'm looking at it. My emotional investment in it is honestly like I want to enjoy it through my kids. And so I care less about if, like, again, I'm not going to specifically seek stuff out, but if it happens to come across my radar, I'm not going to like avert my gaze. You know what I mean?
That's an interesting point. I mean, because it's not like any spoiler that you hear will not impact you like I'm your father. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like that's
well, and that's the thing, right? Because that's how this was being couched.
right.
So
Right.
I read the thing and I was like, all right, whatever.
Well, and I think it's another thing that kind of comes with age where, we actually have things that we have to worry about in life. You know what I mean? So this isn't our everything anymore.
Yeah.
But at the
I
same
miss those
time,
days.
yeah. But at the same time, like I just want to see a story and not know exactly where it's going. Like I just want to enjoy something unfolding in front of me. And like I know it's not going to change my life, and I know it's not going to put my jaw on the floor with surprises, but I just want to enjoy something fresh.
Yeah.
So that's why I choose it. I don't really want to know the story. I just want to go in and enjoy it.
Yeah, whatever.
Shut up.
I know. You so high and mighty with your not reading spoilers. Now, well, actually, I mean, it's funny that we say that because like the movie that we're going to be talking about now is very much dependent upon not knowing the spoilers. Am I right?
Wait. We missed like the biggest story of the day.
Oh, which is what?
Ghostbusters.
Oh my gosh, we did. You're right, Ghostbusters. Okay, so you're right. You're right, Brian. And the timing is so perfect because it just broke earlier today. So it's official.
Yeah. Dan
official, right?
Aykroyd wasn't just speaking into the clouds and all of us just saying like, oh yeah, Dan Aykroyd. Like they're really gonna do it.
They're doing Girl Busters.
Girl Busters. Yeah.
And so this is it's directed by Paul Feig, friend of the show, Paul Feig.
Yeah. Wow. You're right. Yeah.
And so this is going to be a female cast, entirely female cast, and it's written by Katie Dippold, who wrote The Heat.
Mm-hmm.
So my prediction, and I think everyone is pretty much predicting that it'll have Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy in it.
Right.
It's basically Bridesmaids with proton packs.
Wow. Yeah. Unbelievable as it may seem, it didn't even occur to me. I mean, you assume he's going to have his regular players, but yeah, might be Bridesmaids with proton packs. How weird.
So I'm just going to put this out there. I am not remotely interested in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I had like 12 thoughts just crash into each other. Kristen Wiig, she's really interesting, isn't she? Because she did Bridesmaids and she can do whatever she wants. But she keeps making these really small movies.
Yeah.
A lot of films I bet people don't even know. Right. You know what I mean? Like Girl Most Likely and things like that just, went nowhere. And not that they're not any good, but they're just small movies. Right. And so I wonder if she even wants to do it.
That's a good point. Well, I mean, here's I think that if Paul Feig asked her, she would do it.
Yeah. Yeah. But then again, I think they wanted to make Bridesmaids too, and she said no.
But I don't think he wanted to do it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
But I just... We've talked about this, but I wasn't crazy about The Heat.
Me either.
I thought there's a lot of potential all around. I mean, the actors, the director, the premise, and all that. But I just felt like... It just felt like a good first try at that movie, and it's like, okay, you're onto something. Like, let's see if we can get there.
Right.
And so that worries me a little bit. Like I don't mind that it's a female cast at all. Like I love Kristen Wiig. Yeah. I love Maya Rudolph. I think if she was like, there's a lot of females I'd love to see in this movie, but it's just the Paul Feig regular players that I might not be super crazy about, because then it's like it doesn't matter if it's Ghostbusters, it's going to be the movie with the cast that he makes. So it's going to be another one of those movies. You know what I mean? With
Well,
like you
and,
say,
and here's the other thing for me is that apparently this is just a straight reboot.
is it really?
That's
I thought it was going to exist in the universe, Marvel style.
I know, seriously. Here's my problem. Either way, it's bad because if it exists in the same universe, we sort of have to acknowledge that like Egon is dead, and like you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
It takes the Ghostbusters universe to a place I don't necessarily want to go, or we say those movies didn't happen. This is starting fresh, which is also where I don't want to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's essentially this movie is a place I don't want to go.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah. Yeah. This will be a really interesting one to watch. Just who, are fans going to turn on it? Will people go out of curiosity? Would people who wouldn't have gone in the first place go because Melissa McCarthy's in it? You know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, we don't know that, but we can assume.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? I was just like, everyone's pretty much just assuming.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a really interesting one. I don't know.
It's tricky, man.
Yeah.
But moving on.
Moving on up.
Now, the movie that we're getting into this week, kind of an interesting situation because I have not had a chance to see it. So there is no spoiler wall this week. There's just Brian talking about Gone Girl in a way that doesn't give away anything important about Gone Girl.
Oh, man. Am I up for this?
I don't know. We're going to see. Challenge Brian.
Yeah. So, yeah, Gone Girl, based on like a best-selling book. I have not read the book. I actually wanted to read the book because I had heard it was so good, and in those instances, I like reading those first and kind of knowing what the story really was, and then see the movie and kind of have a point in comparison. But I've heard that it's pretty close to the book. So anyway, for what that's worth, and it was also the book was written by Gillian Flynn, and the screenplay was written by her as well. So interesting. But this is a David Fincher film. What are your feelings on David Fincher?
I'm hot and cold on David Fincher. I respect him a lot as a filmmaker, but I can't say I've ever seen any of his movies that have made me that have left me over the moon. Like even Fight Club, which a lot of people adore,
right,
is a movie that I appreciate, but I can't. I'm not part of that cult.
Yeah, sure.
And I would say that applies to most of his films. There's no David Fincher film where I'm like, oh, that sucked, it was terrible, because I think he tends to make good movies.
Yes.
But I feel like his movies are kind of emotionally distant.
Totally understand. Yeah.
And so, when I think of, The Social Network, like I appreciate that movie, but I don't love it.
Yeah.
Or Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which I wasn't crazy about, but I think it's a decent movie. It's just not, I don't know. That's, I think his best movie is Seven, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's totally true, because he actually, and just the way that he films his movies, whether or not it has to do with the story, like he does kind of keep things at a distance, and there's a very detached sort of way that he captures the action and everything like that. And so, yeah, anyway, well, I like David Fincher, but I also go to his movies sort of expecting a certain thing, I guess. Mm-hmm. And when I get that thing from him, it's what I expected, and I'm satisfied. But it felt like for a while he was almost going to become, not a parody because he wasn't a joke, but almost, I was going to say like a parody of himself, because, in his visual style, he kind of had the thing going where in Fight Club, because that movie is sort of zany in a dark way, but like, the camera would go through a door handle and under the light switch and blah, 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 blah. And it made sense in that movie because of the style of that movie. But then when Panic Room came out, I remember there are all these shots where it was like, it's about people trapped in a house, but then the camera would zoom through like the coffee pot handle and sort of stuff. And it was just like, all right, like it didn't feel like it was warranted in those movies. So it was like, is this what he's going to kind of do? And I feel like he got himself out of that with Zodiac, mm-hmm. which I loved. I loved
Zodiac is one of his better movies for sure. I agree with that.
And Social Network, I thought I know what you mean about the emotional distance, but I actually did feel the emotional, the torn friendship in that movie.
But I think my issue with that movie is that it's just such bullshit, right? It's so far removed from the facts of what happened.
Yeah. Well, I
That
mean,
that's part of
they all are.
Yeah, but I think that's part of where my distance came from, right? Is that
Sure.
like this is too recent for us not to very easily know the actual facts.
Okay. Okay. I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, well, so what I'm saying is, it seemed like he was going to be a very technical director. Like, wow, his movies are visually awesome and kind of innovative and cool and pushing, style. But then I feel like he started to get better at just telling stories, and not his visuals will always sort of be the same, but his flourishes, he was starting to, get rid of those. And Gone Girl, I feel like, is really a good sign of his evolution. All of that is what I'm trying to get at, because this is a movie that is distinctly a David Fincher film, but like I went in sort of like, okay, it's going to kind of look like this and it's going to kind of have a shot like that, but it really doesn't. Like, this is a movie, like, he stays true to what this story is and what it requires, even though it, like I say, it does feel like a David Fincher movie, and it doesn't need to have flourishes. I mean, this is a murder mystery.
Right.
So anyway, what I want to say is I really enjoyed this movie. It's really difficult to talk about without really getting into the story, so I'm not going to get into the story and the spoilers or anything like that. But what I liked about this movie most is that we've seen tons of murder mysteries.
Right.
And we bring this up a lot, but when you watch movies like we do, you kind of know where things are going, and you be like, okay, this leads to that, and then this and that. That wraps it up, kind of like a Scooby-Doo episode. But in this movie, like, it's all about just you really don't know what's going on. And I felt like the movie succeeded in continuing to pull you along and misdirect you, and then you are directed in a direction, and then you're given this bit of truth, and then you're given this bit of misdirection. And I enjoyed it all the way through. I think for people looking for like a really fresh murder mystery, they're going to enjoy this movie, and because the story is great, but also it's an actor's movie. I mean, the performances in this movie.
Talk about Ben Affleck.
Yeah, Ben Affleck. It's funny how he has gone through. I mean, you almost forget now, because he's like this prestigious director, and we've warmed to the idea that he's going to be Batman and whatnot. But yeah, there was a period where he was doing Geely,
Right.
and Jersey Girl and all that stuff. But I think, Gone Girl, he does a really good job of playing this guy who's just in. It's basically about, a wife goes missing, and the husband is at the center of the media storm of, poor guy. Wait a minute, did this guy do it? And did he not do it? And like, let's overanalyze every single piece of footage we have of him. Like, it's in the trailer. There's a moment where he's in front of a picture of her missing poster, and just for a brief moment he smiles because there's all these cameras, and he just kind of smirks. And then that's the moment that gets scrutinized on television. It's like, well, he did it, clearly. And then it's what it is then is you're surrounded by all these very interesting characters that make you continue to question everything. So you have Ben Affleck, you have Tyler Perry, who plays an attorney who defends, people who are accused of killing their wives. He specializes in it. And Tyler Perry, I mean, Medea,
Right.
like he's known best for that. Like, you kind of wonder how he's going to be in this. He's perfect. Like, he plays the thing. Sorry, I just feel like I'm kind of rambling because this isn't a back and forth.
Right. It's just me saying, intriguing.
I hope not. But anyway, he does a really good job with what he does. But I also really loved Margot Dune.
Okay.
Is the character who's his sister, and it's played by Carrie Coon. But apparently she hasn't been in a ton of stuff, but she plays Ben Affleck's twin sister, and she does a phenomenal job of just being this person who wants to stand by her brother, but she is also, tossed and turned by the things that are presented to her and what the media is saying, and I thought she did an excellent job.
Really?
But then I guess the performance that everyone is talking about is Rosamund Pike.
Yeah, who's great in general. I'm a big fan of hers.
Yeah, it almost feels like a long time coming because she's been in.
First time I saw her was in Die Another Day.
Yeah.
Right, which
Yeah.
is 2002, I think.
Yeah. So she, plays this missing wife, but is teased in the trailer. You get to hear voiceover and things that come from the past, and you get to see flashbacks and whatnot. And she just does a really good job of playing a person that you think you kind of know, but you just can't crack.
Okay.
And it's about like a marriage that has fallen apart, and that's why it makes it so tricky about like whether or not Ben Affleck is, his character is guilty in this, and you can't figure her out. And so anyway, strong performances all around. Writing's really good. Directing's really good. Like I think this is one worth checking out. I think. But
nice.
It's dark too. I think some people go in expecting something kind of like, ooh, fun. Let's see this mystery. But it's David Fincher. Like there's a lot of darkness and violence, and I don't know. It's a cold film, like you say. Like his movies can tend to be. So I would say that also. But I don't know. Yeah, this is kind of hard to just talk on my own. Yeah. But anyway, yeah,
it's hard to discuss without getting into spoilers.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is I can't really talk about the movie in some ways, but yeah, I'd say it's a mystery worth going and being pulled along with.
Okay. So thumbs up for Gone Girl.
Thumbs up.
So Brian gives thumbs up. My thumb is neutral as of now because I have not seen it, but I hope to, hopefully by the next time we talk, and I'll tell you whether you're right or wrong.
Yeah.
Brian.
Thank you.
I'll tell you whether your opinion is right. But that seems like as good a place as any to wind up our conversation for this week. Wow, an hour and a half just flew by.
Yeah.
So next time out, we will have some new stuff to talk about, including Fury, which is the new film starring Brad Pitt and a very smelly Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Very excited about that. And on that note, Brian, where can people find you online?
At everythingbrian.blogspot.com, Brian with an I, and my Twitter that I do actually have is at everythingbrian. And
how's that going for you?
I am a proud owner of a Twitter handle.
Okay, well
that's about it. Don't use it very often. Not for any reason. Just hasn't become a part of my everyday activity, I guess. I don't know.
Brian, I'm going to tell you the same thing my dad says to me every day. You remain a disappointment to me. And, of course, you can find me at zakiscorner.com. That's Zakis Corner. And also at the Huffington Post, where my movie reviews go up regularly, as well as the Movie Film Podcast. You can also find us at moviefilmpodcast.com and also at facebook.com/moviefilmpodcast. Please do hit like on our Facebook page and also hit up iTunes and Stitcher Radio. Write us a review. Leave us a star rating. Every little bit helps. And when you tell us that you love us, we feel loved.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's warm and fuzzy inside when you do that. So please make that happen. But otherwise, on behalf of my friend Brian Hall, my name is Zaki Hassan. This is the Movie Film Podcast, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Welcome, friends.